they break the verge. From real estate to viral trends, your online game, they'll help it mend. Mo says, post a story, make it pop. Fly laughs, don't let the rhythm stop. Brokers out there, hear the call. Socials, the ladder, climb the wall. Filters, captions, find your voice. In this world, you've got the choice. It's the surge, yeah, the social surge. Flying low, they bring the...
Good morning, Holly Pennington. Thanks for joining us over on the gram. It is the Surge with Fly and Mo. Good morning, Moosehead. All right, it is Tuesday, and that means that it is another episode of Surge with Fly and Mo. I'm Mo Regalado. Eventually, I'll pop up on screen. Over there is my good friend, my compadre, Mr. Ty Jamerson. Great guitar. Everybody for joining us. Your hair looks fabulous.
Thanks. It could lots of flaring.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Good morning, Regalado Real Estate, joining us over on the gram. I gotta say, the song gets stuck in my head like all the time now. It's like our soundtrack just plays in my head all the time.
It's good. Yeah, I will often get I'm working on one right now. I put a lot of effort into the music for the cold caller videos because you know, and it's just for me. It's a little treat, but I do. I mean, you know, again, simple element that can really change. It can set the tone. It can, you know, all kinds of things. And I've seen some really interesting music choices lately too, but let's not get into that.
Well, no, I think it's good though, because like we are talking about your origin story today and why it still matters. A lot of people, in fact, I saw this not too long ago, is actually a comment that was made, like, I don't see the point of reintroducing myself. And while that's fine for some people, I think it's vastly important. One, it's extremely arrogant to assume that everybody knows who you are.
Whoa, bar was dropped. I was not ready.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
Well, and then also naive. There you go. God, you're always 10 steps hold on. You're far more than 10 steps ahead of me, but I'm never not impressed by you. Arrogant, naive, short-sighted. It's giving sour grapes, like all kinds of stuff, right? Like when people Fromage, good morning, Fromage. When people's first reactions are, I don't see the point of this, like two things. Once again, like you can run your business like any way you want, and there are different things that you can do in your business that will yield different results. And if being digitally present is not an important part of your business goals, like that's one thing. But that, like, I don't see the point of the reintroduction is just, in my opinion, extremely short-sighted.
It is. And here's the thing. When your audience changes constantly, right? And you have to think about the fact that, yes, you might be seeing the same post on your feed, but if you want to gain a wider audience, and for some people, that is not the point of them being on social media, right? But your audience constantly changes. You're not just sitting in front of the same 10 people, right? It's evolving all the time. And so making a point of reintroducing yourself or telling your origin story is always going to impact somebody different. And even if a person has heard your origin story before, here's the interesting thing. Maybe they weren't paying attention the first time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm going to tell you, guys. And again, I think, people are getting hit. There are so many people. I recently went on a purge on my Instagram following because I'm like trying to take that account in a reinvigorated direction. I probably need to do a reintroduction post there. But I couldn't purge less than like where I'm at now, which is like 1,200 something people that I'm following on Instagram. And I genuinely went one by one, and I was like, this is a person that like I want to have in my network that I would like to be connected to. But that is just so many people. I can't remember all of it, like this is, and you can't either. This is why we're always talking about, the CRM, right? And the necessity for that, not just for we're way off topic, shocking, not just for managing the business part of that, but just remembering there's so much in your brain that you need to remember, right? And so the other people in your network also have that much in their brains. I say that with a huge asterisk, but people, even if people know you, people have no idea.
Right. And it's the sales 101, right? People are thinking, they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves.
Yeah. And
that is Jonathan Papica's joined us over on the gram. What? Thanks, Jonathan. So happy to see you over there, Mr. Papica. It comes down to like, are you, is this an arrogance thing? Is it an ego thing? You have to realize that people they're not thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves. And so by doing an origin story, one, yes, it's a good piece of content. Two, it's a great thing to do to allow you to reflect on how far you've come, right? Yes. So say, you did an origin story, well, first of all, let's talk about what we mean by an origin story before we get into like when you should be posting that. So obviously we all know, like if you've ever dealt with the MCUs or any of that stuff, every superhero has an origin story. Every villain has an origin story. And whether or not you're the hero or the villain, that's up to you, but you have an origin story. How did you get started in the business, right? How did life before you got into commercial real estate, how did that look, and how did that affect what you're doing now? We all have stories, and it's okay to post that story again and again and again, because it still hits. It's always going to be a different audience. And even if some of the people in the audience are the same, that's okay, because they're going to pull something different from it each time that you share that story. When it comes to sharing your story, I don't think you need to copy and paste, but if you want to copy paste it, do it. I think you should always add a little bit something new. Yes.
I suddenly feel the need to drop this in here as a qualifier. Your origin story also is not your bio.
Correct.
Like, yeah. I've been working with some people lately that I'm digesting a lot of things, right? And just like your bio that is like on the brokerage website that's like, I've been in CCIM for this many years and like that, which like, I don't mean to say that dismissively, like that's not, right. But it's not what we're talking about. That's like the spec sheet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's like the one page in the OM that tells you how much square footage there is. That's great. You need to know that, but that's not the story. So
it's not the story. Yeah. That's right. So what is it about origin stories that are so good? Well, one, they humanize you like huge, right? We always talk about being human on this. Because so many times when we look at social media and when we look at talking about ourselves, and this seems, I don't know, Fly, if you've had the same challenge or issue.
Bro, I'm out here talking about the CRECU. You know what I mean?
CRECU? Oh my gosh.
Come on. Let's just let me cook. Somebody let me off the leash and let me just
oh my gosh, yeah, we could totally go on in a huge That would be a lot of fun. But when I'm talking about your origin story and sharing the story of you, there's always something in there that somebody can learn. And I got off topic and my thought process died when I saw the MCU thing.
That's okay. We were talking like how it humanizes you.
Yes.
And
so thank you for reeling me back in. Okay. So when we're talking about, like, if you think about a lot of what happens with a lot of brokers when they post content up, a lot of it is very stilted. It's very cold. It doesn't have that aspect of storytelling in it. And so we just kind of glaze over it, right? We just, oh, look, it's a just listed. It's a just sold. And while that's interesting for some, it isn't the reason why we want to get invested in somebody. Right? So you have to we always talk about humanizing the brand. You have to create that ability for people to connect with you on some sort of level and make them feel some sort of way.
Feeling a type of way. And I cannot underline this enough. And while you were talking, I thought to myself, man, I have never felt anything while reading somebody's corporate bio. I've never like they don't tug on my heartstrings, you know what I'm saying? But when you connect with people in real life, and again, it's a very different environment, and there's different points of friction that I know we're navigating while we're doing this publicly in the digital space, right? But if I think back to the kinds of relationships or the kinds of conversations that I've seen happen between people who are serious in this business and doing like a gross number of transactions, still in this market, the way that they connect with one another, that they present to one another, that they're engaging with one another is all about stories and their personal experiences, and sharing what it's taken them to accomplish what they have. And I want to get into like the difference between, talking about someone who's a more seasoned versus somebody who's new, because that's a little bit different nuance, right? Sharing about the experiences that it took for them to get where they are and why on earth they are doing this. That level of connection can often be the level of connection and familiarity and sort of personal investment and understanding of why someone is coming to the table can be the difference between why somebody does business with you versus somebody else. And I see it a lot. I've been seeing it more lately. I've become more acutely aware of this, is that you can be better than somebody in your market, but if they have a relationship, you're not going to win that deal. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you can be better, but if you're not telling your story, somebody else is.
Oh yeah. So that is a big piece too. Like not having control of how people are perceiving you, and also not necessarily being aware of how people are perceiving you. I've seen some local brokers here get dragged on social media and they're not there. That's a different
idea. Right.
Conversation, but
it is, but it isn't, because you're not controlling the narrative and you're not in a space that everybody is. And I'm sure I'll have detractors say, well, not everybody's on social media. You know what? You're absolutely right. I almost dropped the F-bomb.
Are you stopping?
No, I'm not, but I'm trying to be better.
Right. I understand.
We both know that that's not
if we could possibly do a lot, we need a delay. And like, let's get heck on the they're doing a bleep. Nick Ihorn.
Yeah, if you aren't telling your story, someone else is. And often that other person telling your story is not telling the correct story or the nice story. And so it's super important that again, I was let me backtrack. I was talking about, there's detractors out there that would say, well, not everybody's on social media, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, that's well and true. But I think as Fly is seeing in some of the work that she's doing, and some of the brokers that she's working with admittedly are older, but they're absolutely loving the traction that they're getting on social. And guess what? They're sharing their stories. They're sharing their origin stories. They're sharing that information that hasn't it might have had a conversation between two people, but now it's on, a digital platform and it's getting shared to a wider audience. Oh, I didn't know you were a part of that deal. Oh, I had no idea that you were one of the main people that brought such and such company into our community, right? I think about an inactive client of mine who is in Atlanta, Georgia, and his dad helped bring in or partnered with, and I apologize if I get this wrong, partnered with the people who brought Waffle House. Like,
oh, dang.
I know. How cool is that?
I know a couple brokers like that, and luckily I'm working with more and more of them. But I swear, I'm like, y'all out here, you're like cowboys. And I think a part of it too is just like there's all kinds of objections, right? And I'm learning a little bit more about sales. I'm by no means a salesman, but like the objections that come up, it's like the people aren't there. Okay, are they not? Where's the research that you have to back that? Have you actually gone line by line through your CRM to see who's there? Guess what? I have for certain brokers and in the past. And so yeah, they were there. They were absolutely there. It's a question of going out and finding them, right? I mean, you have to take it on a case by case basis, right? But then the other thing is, again, like the not solving for time. You want to know what? It takes time to figure out how to tell your story. It does.
It really does.
And then also like the feeling like you do not have a story or it's not valid. And I see this, those are the three objections that like were the points of friction that I get all the time about like, why should I tell my story? And, it is hard because for most of content marketing, and going back to story brand, you are not the hero of the story. And so because for most of the content needs to be adding value to the people that you're trying to reach. It needs to be about them, but it is a two-way conversation, and knowing something about you will help you become more relatable, more accessible, feel like somebody. If they understand, again, the experiences that you've been through, the results that you've gotten, why you're doing this in the first place, it's a huge signal for them, and again, is trust. There's so much trust. There's so much trust involved in this business because the amount of money that's flying around is just really disgusting, honestly. And if somebody's going to transact with you, they want to know who you are.
Right. Absolutely. So it's a matter of you do have to tell your story. It's not about ego. And I think that's one of the big challenges that I come up against with some brokers is the fact that they're like, one, nobody's interested in my story. Two, this isn't about me. Right. And on social, it is about you. It is about creating that connection in that community. I think about our CREI Summit community, right? Like we have this great community of people that like if Bucky Beeman was to go and do his origin story again, I'd freaking eat it up.
I don't know it. I mean, I know a little bit of it, but you know what I mean? Again, it's like somebody who I know and love who's doing serious business. And I'm like, you want to know what? I know him, but I don't know what his deal is.
Right. Absolutely. So it's those people and let's down to brass tacks, we're all nosy. We want to know. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so when we're talking about your origin story and sharing it again, it is okay if you've already done it before. So origin story, it is not about your ego. It is about the evolution that you've had in the business. And this is for seasoned brokers. How have you grown over the last 10, 15, 25 years? What did it look like when you first started? One of the things I love about when Bob does his stories is, and it sticks in my brain how he talks about, and if you're unfamiliar with who that Bob is, it's Bob Knackel. He's out of New York City. He talks about having to go down with change in his pockets, right? He had change in his pockets that they would go down to the payphone and go make phone calls and then wait to see if the person would call them back,
That's
right? Like
crazy.
that is it's such a like a, not only is it like a marker in time, but it's just like that's how business was done, right? So it's those little things, right? And those stick. So it's those sticky moments that allow people to feel like they're connecting with you in a way that they wouldn't normally do. And if other brokers are connecting with you that way because of those sticky moments, then also your potential clients and prospects are, because we're doing more and more research on the people that we do business with, right? I know that when somebody recommends somebody to me, guess where I go? Immediately I go and I either search for them in ChatGPT or I look for them on Google, because I want to know, like, has somebody said something bad about you in business? Because if you have a bunch of bad ratings, I'm not going to want to do business with you.
The thing that came to mind is I was talking to at some point in the last year, I heard a story about somebody digging into the underwriting on a property to figure out a loan structure that was going to work, and they backed off because the business and the operators had bad reviews on Google. I'm just saying.
Well, and this gets into the whole reputation management, right? It could have been like, so this is one of those things where people have, and this is a sidebar, people have to be aware of what other people are saying about you online. If you have Google reviews that are bad and you are unaware, that is on you. You need to be searching for that stuff. And if you're like, okay, like this didn't happen. I think about, again, sidebar, I think about Dr. Dre Campbell out of Idaho was talking about this. I know. I love his name. He's the whitest Dr. Dre you'll know. There was a transaction. What had nothing to, like, the transaction went through, but the person, it was basically the person tried to back out of a lease or something like that. And he's just like, you're a lawyer, like you can't do that. And so the person went and put a bad review on Google saying like, oh, he misled us. And he was like, no, as a matter of fact, that's not what happened. Here's what happened. And he went and he told his story, his side of the story, instead of allowing that person to leave a bad review and not responding. Right. And so that takes a little bit of due diligence. That also takes, social listening. There's a lot of different programs out there that do that for you. What is social listening? It's when somebody mentions your brand or your name and it gets picked up and put into a feed. And then you can go make sure that what people are saying about you is correct and it's good. And if they're saying something bad, then you can be on there like white on rice and make sure that you are not necessarily shifting the narrative, but addressing the situation as it happened. This happens all the time, on Facebook review pages or Facebook pages where people dump on them and start reviewing, or they go to their Etsy shop. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. And if you are not on top of it, paying attention to what people are saying, then you could be adversely affected just because somebody doesn't like you or they get upset and they want to blast you. And then they get their whole family and their posse to blast you too, which sucks, but it happens. It happens. People
yeah, it does. I'm just laughing because like on the one hand, like the internet is like not a serious place. And then on the other hand, like it's just it's wild what can be accomplished here.
Yeah. I mean, just go on TikTok and you can see and even on Facebook groups, they have actual like pages dedicated to like dudes who like are serial, daters. Like they're constantly dating.
Yeah. Are we dating the same guy?
Are we dating the same guy? And it's like you want, your internet bestie will go and like sleuth for days.
Sleuthing. Oh,
right. Love it. So we're off topic, but let's go back to origin story.
Yeah, the point is that like so many people in this business, like it is their job to find out about you, which it was really not the original intent of like why we wanted to talk about this, but it's an interesting thing that a part of it. Because also, I think, again, we are still very early in the business in terms of how people are capitalizing on using social media. For many people, and this is more, maybe we need to table the conversation for like, what does this mean for somebody new in the business versus somebody seasoned? Like maybe that can be Thursday.
And a reboot and rebrand, because that was the other thing that we had on here too.
Yeah. This is a 3-part series. It's artisanal. Here's the thing. I know I've seen this happen in a couple different situations and in a couple different markets. But for people who are seasoned in the business who are not on social media, this is something common I see happen, and it usually goes like this. You have a book of business that you've built over a number of years, on a very specific model of doing business that was largely unrelated and did not utilize anything digital. Here's what's happening. You have market share right now. There is somebody who has your picture printed out and put on their cubicle desk in the bullpen, who is hell-bent on coming for your market share. I'm serious. This is a real thing I've seen. And they are going to capitalize on every opportunity that you are not capitalizing on. And the easiest one for them to do, it's very free, is to start getting really loud online.
Yep. And
if you don't see that, if you don't know if you don't know that is happening, it's gonna
bite you in the ass.
It's gonna bite you in the ass, and you are going to start losing deals. You're going to start losing deals. You're going to start losing deals in ways that do not make sense.
Correct.
And it is because they are visible in a way that you are not. And so the greatest thing, this is just going to sound how it sounds. But especially if you are a broker who is, seasoned experience in the business, and you are doing well for yourself now and you don't know what's next. What's next could possibly be that you need to stake a claim in the internet and figure out what it would look like for you if you became not the loudest voice in the room.
Yep. Or the people, well, and even worse,
in person.
Even worse, people start forgetting your name.
That I'm amazed. And like, I know I'm coming at this in a little bit of a Justin with his devil horns, of the emojis. I'm coming at it a little harsh, and I don't know. I really don't mean to, but I have a conversation with somebody every single day, where they tell me a story about a deal that they've done, a part of their origin story, something that they experienced. And like, it is bonkers. It is wild. And not just the things in the business that make for great reality television. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about really incredible, innovative, creative problem solving on transactions that are, if they could articulate them and put them out there in the same way that if you can articulate and put out there the story of how you got here and why you did this. I got so distracted by that emoji, Nick. Oh my gosh. Wow. I was like really building up to something and it just totally dropped out. What was I saying? I'm serious. This is so funny.
No, it's what you were saying was that the stories that they're telling. So because the way that they do their deals and the transactions, if they were actually sharing those stories online, right? I think where you were going with this is that it would explode their presence, not just in their market, but on a national platform.
On a national platform. Thank you. And it just was, And I think for some people in certain markets that could be an incredible, it just could really change their business. It could change their community. I heard somebody give a keynote recently talking about how brokers have the power and the capacity to create real change and influence in their communities. And, when I think about these brokers in my market recently that got dragged on social media, I'm like, this is entirely preventable in the long term. If the dominant narrative about this business was telling a different story. But instead, people are playing things close to the chest. They're afraid to put themselves out there. They don't want to put out the work, put in the work to do it. And there are very good reasons for all of those things. There are also really, really good excuses. But if you would like to see, I do think that, again, if you look at all of the things and all the effort that you can make in this business to impact change, okay, your book of business is fine right now. You don't need social media right now. Great. What would it mean for your business if you got in front of an entirely different group of people and were a part of a narrative about impacting a community and a commerce system where people felt positive about what you were doing, that transactions were moving faster? Like, there's so many reasons for this, and I'm so off topic now because I got really distracted by a cute emoji.
No, it's not off topic at all, because it's all about the fact that you're going to lose market share, right? There is going to be somebody who is going to utilize all the digital tools that they can, and they're going to utilize the phone calls and email marketing, which is digital tools, and hard mail and networking events. And they're going to show up consistently in so many places where you're only showing up in your office, out for coffee, maybe going to a networking event once a month. 3 touches, where now they've had multiple touches
every day in the feed.
Every single freaking day, they're doing something that is causing them to show up in front of the audience that they want to be in front of. And that is freaking huge. And if you're not aware of that, that's why it's important to tell your origin story, so people know why you got started in the business. They understand where you're coming from. And to be fair, when we're talking about content and impressions, origin stories, for the most part, outperform generic posts. The numbers are incredible, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say that with a little bit of a caveat, because if you haven't been working your audience the way that you're supposed to, the way that we've been telling you, your origin story might take a couple times before it actually gets picked up. Now, I'm not saying I want you to repeat it every single week, but take a look back, and when was the last time that you reintroduced yourself to your audience? When was the last time that you told people who you are and what you do, right? In a way that is compelling and is engaging and is classic storytelling. So we're actually going to continue this conversation. We're coming up on time.
So long. This got beefy. I'm sorry I got on the podium. I feel really strongly about.
Yep. So Dwayne says, I connect with people that I would never connect with otherwise. It's a great platform. I encourage people that make up business to join the community. And it is a community. I love the community that we have. I love how we build each other up and, really fight for one another. I think that's a beautiful thing. We will be back here on Thursday, finishing up this conversation about your origin story. We're really going to look into what to do for seasoned brokers. For you new brokers, who I get this a lot too, I don't know, nobody's interested in what I have to say. Yes, they are. And then also talking about rebrands and reboots for your company. Like if you move companies or something to that effect, how are you going to do that origin story properly so that everybody knows where you are. And again, coming back to the Bob Knackle story, the reason why he came up with the baseball card
Yes.
is the fact that he was walking down the street and happened to see one of his clients and asked him, "Oh, you're still with such and such company?" And he was just like, "No, I haven't been with them for like 5 years. What are you talking about?" So again, if you're not great, stupid,
I love this.
Stupid. If you're not telling your story, somebody else is. And we will be back here on Thursday. Can't wait to see everybody. We'll talk to you soon.